So this is a really convenient closet here, really large. It's just not real practical to take advantage of since there's no shelving in this back area. I've marked these studs here. I'm going to add a shelf kind of desk height on this wall where I could set up a workstation and then add a couple shelves on this back wall for storage. So I like using this primed finger joint 1x2s for my wall runners for my shelves, because that way I don't have to paint it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill a few holes through the edge so that I can come back up into the shelf to secure it. So I'm going to start on this back wall since I'm after a fixed height, and then I can put these shelves on this other wall anywhere I want them. A work surface or desk is generally 30 inches tall, so I've got that marked here. And I'm going to go ahead and install this runner. Alright, so I want to make sure this is level. Then go ahead and hit it with some nails into the studs to hold it in place, and then I'll run some screws. I know most of you would have liked to see me pre-drill for these, but this is just a pine finger joint runner screwing into a stud. I can get in there without splitting the wood. All right, so I've decided I want to put a cap on this shelf, which I'll explain the implications of that here in a little bit. But one thing I had to do is I had to cut this back an inch in order to allow room for a cap to set and cover that reveal. And so that's going to put me pretty tight against this stud here. So what I've done is I pre-drilled a hole here at an angle so that I can toenail, not literally nail. I'm going to screw it back into that stud. Okay, you can see I did the same thing over here. And as I did on the back rail, I also pre-drilled a hole just so I can screw up through and hold the shelf in place. And melamine shells have a particle board core, so I'll be using special particle board screws for that. They look a lot like coarse thread drywall screws, but they're going to be hardened steel, a little bit stronger than you'd get with a drywall screw. Okay, I used some blue tape when I was cutting this melamine shelf just so it doesn't splinter out on me. Nice thing about melamine shelves is, you know, they're finished. Won't be turning this into some giant paint project. Disadvantages, they're heavy, and the particle board core, you know, the screws don't bite into them too well. So same thing here with, since this is going to be a workstation, I want to drill a hole. There is an outlet underneath where this shelf's going, and so again, I'll use some blue tape so it doesn't chip out on me. You might look at the tools I'm using. I'd prefer to have a corded drill for a hole saw, but I don't have a lot of tools up here with me. You might have noticed I was using a Ryobi circular saw and nailer, and that's just because they're inexpensive. And you know, you get decent amp hours off the battery, and if you're not using it every single day, it's going to be sufficient for the job, certainly for this project. So I've positioned this as close to the back as I can get, and I have to take into account that 3/4 inch runner that's underneath there. I want to be sure and clear that. All right, so there you have it. Okay, so I mentioned that I wanted to put a cap on this shelf, but I didn't decide to do that until I'd already drilled this access hole for cords. And otherwise, I would have flipped this shelf. One edge is square and the other edge is finished bullnose. I would have put the bullnose at the back so I could have that square edge at the front, and I could attach a cap to it. Can't really do that on the bullnose since I'd already pre-drilled back there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my cap 1/4 inch back from the front edge just to give it a finished look, and also to add a little bit of stiffness across the front edge of this, since this is about a 65-inch shelf. That's why I cut this runner back by an extra inch to allow for the 1/4 inch reveal and then the 3/4 inch cap. And so that's what it'll look like. Anytime you're going in between three walls, or two for that matter even, drywall is never square. So when you slide this back and you have a little bit of a gap, that's to be expected. It's nothing to be overly concerned about. I'm not going to have so much of a gap that I can't just fill it in with a little bit of caulk. But if it was significant, you might use a pair of scribes or a compass and mark it flush against the wall and custom trim it to fit up in there tight. But this is a closet that really isn't necessary. Run some glue along the front edge of this shelf and the pin nail on the cap. A little fill stick that I'll just use to fill in these pin nails. All right, so here you have it. Got a little workstation over here built in, outlet underneath there, and a couple shelves on the back wall to get better use out of the room.